And so that hypothesis is essentially the potential topic of research, Like for example, last year I published a paper, it was in a Nordic-I event in Sweden. You also do a lot of background study, planning, decide the scope of work, and focus on the objectives. What is it that I want to finally achieve out of this exercise? So background study is essentially the literature study, finding out what others have done. Has somebody done similar kind of work? Because if they have already done, and if the result is accepted by everybody, there is no point in me laboring on the same thing. So because paper is not going to be accepted later on, so it's not of use. So methods, techniques and strategies. So then you think about what methods am I going to apply, what techniques I am going to use, what is the strategy that I see to achieve the kind of objectives, the kind of insights that I want to develop. So you work on methods, techniques, strategies. So unless you cannot write something under methodology just for the sake of it, you should have thought about it. Then you will be in a position to write something there, and the reviewer will find some sense in it. Otherwise, it will not be as impactful. And then I design my experiments, whatever number of experiments I have. Okay, so these experiments. So generally, whenever I design experiments, I am also looking at the objectives. What do I want to? What insights I want? What do I want to? What is my research question? What answers I am trying to see? So you are trying to get close to it by various experiments. So you have n number of experiments. So generally such experiments produce a whole lot of data. So that data is qualitative and quantitative. These are the two types of data that you generate. So unless you have an overview of this activity, you cannot really plan a research activity. It's not something which you start and it's like groping in the dark. You are searching for the switch. It's not an activity like that. Aerial view gives the meta level thinking. When I am running around in the lanes, in the city, you don't have idea how the geography is arranged. But the moment you sit in the aeroplane or in a tall building, and when you look down, oh, this is how I came. It's so near actually, but the road takes me such a long time, to reach the same place. Otherwise, if I go straight, it is that is meta level thinking. So you should be able to. That's what should trigger here. Then you establish correlations, causality, why this must have happened. Okay, what is it that you did which gave you that result? The relationship between the cause and the effect. Okay, what are the exceptions? You try to identify the variable factors. The same experiment, one variable brought in, different variable brought in, shows different results. So such things, so that level of thinking starts happening here. Okay, so that's where you actually begin to interpret things. Interpretation is deriving meaning out of it. Newspaper has lot of text, but unless a meaning is derived out of it, it makes no sense to you. Then you can simply use it to pack grocery material. So same thing applies here. Data without some meaning derived out of it, if some interpretation derived out of it, is of no use to you. Findings, validation. So then next is the stage where you actually become clear about what you have found. Okay, what is it that I have found through this exercise? So the findings become visible to you, and then you also engage in validation of those findings. Now these are the findings. How I can prove the validity of those findings? Because a reviewer of the paper he is like a cynic. He is a nasty fellow. He is not your friend. He is there to find faults with your work. So he looks at what is the validity of your findings. Okay, he will say, no, I am not convinced. He will say, I am not happy with this. Okay, you did all that, but not good enough. So validation is very, very important. You need to really validate the findings, and there are various ways to validate it. We can touch upon that. So that is the time when you are summarizing your understanding, okay, and you are basically ready to come out with conclusions. The most important thing is new questions. If your research has not come out with new questions, then perhaps it was a very, very close-ended, very, very closed kind of activity. Because research is always a expanding horizon, You reach till, that was the horizon, that's the point where I saw sky and the earth were meeting. You reach there and you find, oh, there is